Hello everyone and welcome back to Cork Audio. So today we have something a little bit different and, well, exciting. As you can probably see a little bit out of the frame of the camera here, we've got two decent sized boxes, and I wanted to take you guys along with me as we open them up and see what's inside. These boxes are fresh from Canada, so as you can probably guess, they are Angela-Gilbert Yeung components. Well, it's actually one component with its separate associated power supply. This is a i807 integrated amplifier that was an order placed by a client of mine here close by, and I look forward to actually delivering this to him in person here shortly. But I wanted to showcase a couple things as I take these out of the boxes and show you what's special about this specific amplifier while I get this set up to do its final burn-in before delivery. So I'm going to go ahead and readjust the camera so that you can see these better, and well, let's just get straight into it. Alright, welcome to the bird's eye view here. Just going to go ahead and start with, of course, the smaller box first. Just using this piece of paper to obscure my address because I am open by appointment only. But, like I said, start off with the small box here, which is going to be the power supply. We'll go ahead and take her out, remove it carefully, and then we'll go ahead and make our way to the large box. So every edge is taped. Just be careful cutting through everything. I like to find a little edge where the cardboard is showing a bit, cut into it so I can actually find myself underneath of the box. Now, of course, I'm being very careful because, like I said, this is not the final destination for this amplifier. And if it ever, for some reason, needed to be shipped, I'm going to make sure that this box remains in perfect condition. So there we are. No cuts into the foam. And this is something else I wanted to kind of showcase in doing this, is how exactly Angela-Gilbert packs these components, because everything is actually cut herself out of foam. So as you can see, got a really nice thick part there, so you're going to have that on top and bottom for cushion. Just an extra portion here that protects the actual cables that are nice and wrapped back behind here. There we are. So we have a power cable here. The remote control. And an anti-static bag. Carefully take these wires, move them on top of the component, and lift her out. Mother of God. I knew it was heavy. Just from the shipping, when I actually made the labels for this, it's around 30 pounds just for the power supply. But lifting something of that heft in that small of a component, you just don't expect it. That weighs as much as my power amplifier almost. That's pretty impressive. But looking here in the box, we have a little bit more of soft padding that goes up underneath of the feet, underneath of the actual amplifier itself, well, the power supply. And you can see there is the power switch. So the power switch has its own little cut off there. But as you can see, it is all cut and marked out by hand for each and every special component. So I'm going to go ahead replace these pieces of foam so I remember where they go. There we are. Now I'm going to move this to a safe location so I can go ahead and take out this integrated amplifier. Alright, so here we are for part 2 of the unboxing. The integrated amplifier itself. So this box has actually been cut and customized a bit to form this specific factor. You can tell because she's actually overlapped the cardboard a bit there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this relief first. Find that underneath. There we go. Expect a lot of tape. If it wasn't for the few exposed pieces of cardboard, this could just about be waterproof with how much tape that is used, and that's how it should be. So this is another insulating protective piece here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these parts off. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Another one. And there we are. There's the top. Put the sharp object away. As you can see, we've got this really nice thick foam again. Nothing is going to penetrate through that. She is hefty, so looking at the best way of actually lifting this. So, gotta be careful with the back portions because you have the ground lugs and things of that nature back there. So, there we are. And she is freed. Fantastic. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and clean this box up a little bit. Well, I'll give you a quick look at it again. Like I said, everything is cut specifically by hand for each and every component or order. So even small things like that, this wraps around that plexiglass to make sure that nothing actually causes a transmission of vibration or shock to it, so it arrives in good condition. Of course, you have the nice big indentations cut for your volume and selection, and everything in the back, such as your terminals, inputs, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned up. Swap the camera angle, and we'll go ahead and take a look at this special i807 integrated amplifier. So here we have both out of their respective boxes side by side. This is the i807 integrated amplifier. If you're someone who's not really familiar with Angela-Gilbert Yeung designs, this might already be something a little bit different and more odd than you have seen before, because it's an integrated amplifier that shares more than one chassis. Well, that's because, as I noted, this is the power supply. This actually has an external power supply for this integrated amplifier. So you have no transformers and no source of AC actually inside the chassis where the audio signal is processed. That keeps it away from all of that nice sensitive electronics, making sure that you have a deep, dark, black background. That also left, of course, some extra space inside of this chassis, and well, that space was filled with power supply. It is still the power supply inside here, but as I said, you no longer have the transformers inside. It is in a separate box, so this entire section inside of here is now the high capacitance reserve for both the input and output sections of the amplifier. And they are just powered through the back from this external power supply with soldered on umbilical cables. It actually has a strain relief inside with silicone. It is directly mounted, so all you have to do is actually mount it from the back, and I'll show you how to do that coming up shortly. But as I noted, there is no AC within this actual chassis. The only thing being fed into it is DC power from the power supply, so it only holds a very large DC power supply within, and the only AC that you're going to be dealing with is the actual audio signal being pushed into the integrated amplifier. So now that I actually have the tops of both of these off, I'm going to go ahead and take the camera off of the tripod here and show you a little bit of the inside, show you some of Angela-Gilbert Yeung's art and intricate workings, as well as show you exactly what makes this so special, a one-of-a-kind amplifier, the Red Edition i807. So for this next portion of the video, I will be more or less freehanding the camera. So if you're someone that gets seasickness or motion sickness, just beware that the camera will be moving in this next section as we take a look at the interior of both of these chassis, starting with the i807. So, as I noted, this is a very high capacitance design. So as you can see, about 3/4 of this is nothing but the power supply and the capacitive reserve. So everything here is all power supply. This is all capacitance that it can readily pull from. Some of this is for the output stage over here, and then some of it is for the input stage as well. So coming over here to the actual power supply, you can actually see some of how that is worked out. So we actually have two transformers. Both of them are potted in silicone. As Angela-Gilbert had mentioned and noted in one of her videos, she showcases some of the reasons why that she uses silicone in things such as transformers. And if you note, a transformer is just a coil of wire, essentially. Well, just putting it very simply. So if you look at it, you have each one of those wires, and it's just wrapped around and around and around, and depending on the amount of windings, that determines your voltage, your output voltage of the actual transformer. So each and every one is going to be a little bit different depending on your actual voltage. So it's not going to be a completely flat surface. Silicone will actually help mold to whatever surface that ends up coming out with. So you actually have this nice solid mounting point where you're not actually going to end up with something that will eventually short out if the little bit of foam or rubber insulation that they give you to mount these with, they eventually will rub through or just end up compressing that wire. It's just little things like that to make sure that nothing is stressed throughout the design, and that includes the wires. Even the wire ties here are all done loosely. It is only to help guide them, and that's another reason why silicone is used throughout here. Some portions, such as this, is for some of the lower voltage for the input stage. All of that is kept together, and then we have our higher current that is ran together into a parallel. That is for your output stage as well. And you can see where some wires are carefully either kept together or kept apart through the use of silicone. So this is something that's softer, this is something that's going to have high tensile strength, not going to matter much about the temperature within the chassis, and you also have the vibration damping as well. Plus, you also have the fact that it gives you so much more freedom of expression and freedom of placement. If you notice, this chassis is very similar to the C312, and for good reason. You can actually notice that, well, essentially it is the same chassis. Things can be reused or used across different models because things aren't made specifically for each and every model. It allows for a little bit more freedom of placement and movement, such as this. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why the i807 actually existed was, well, Angela deciding to push the boundaries and put a bit more capacitance inside of a already promising design. And as I had mentioned, this one is very special because of the color. We have all kinds of little dabs of red throughout, either on the bottom or in the helicopter landing pads, as she likes to call them. These are actually where the metal chassis will rest on top of, so that it does not resonate. Of course, it's nice and snug down in each of these screw mounting points, but these silicone landing pads make sure that the chassis is nice and flush and not going to resonate. As you can see, more artful use of silicone throughout, either keeping wires apart from each other, supporting solder joints where things connect. Of course, we have our signal wires back here, all ran together through the bottom on the chassis, close to the chassis ground. That way you're not picking up EMI coming up to your input stage. Just beautiful craftsmanship as usual. So coming around to the back side of the amplifier here, as you can see, we only have unbalanced inputs for this one. We have 3 unbalanced inputs with 1 subwoofer or preamplifier out, a single set of binding posts for left and right for your speakers, and then we come over to the power supply side. The power supply does not have anything coming out except for the 2 umbilical cables for the power. We have our ground lift here, so if you have a ground hum issue from one of your unbalanced inputs, you just go ahead and flip this switch, and that should go ahead and take care of your problem. So for the power, here is your actual power supply. This is where you would actually connect that. These 2 jacks are actually upgrade paths for later. So if you want additional capacitance, more than what is already offered in this specific model, this is where you would upgrade that, either individually via your input stage with an SP or your output stage with an FCF, or you could do them both together with an SPF capacitor pack. But simply enough, with this external power supply, you start with the output section with the FCF jack. As you can see, there are 2 little guiding posts that will slide directly in. And once you slide that in, be sure to turn it so that it has a nice click, and then it is held in securely. So, and then we have the SP jack for the input. You have that guiding lip there. It will guide you directly in, clicks into place, nice and snug. So here we are with the Red Edition i807 Integrated Amplifier from Angela-Gilbert Yeung. So I definitely could continue to look over every single solder joint and just the beauty of the artwork that it is, both visually and technically, but as I said, this art piece wasn't commissioned for me. This wasn't meant for my joy, so it's only my job to deliver that joy to the customer, and that's something that I'm looking forward to doing. And I'm just really happy to have been a part of this process and see what Angela-Gilbert Yeung was able to do with such a simple request. And that's just something that I wanted to showcase to everybody, that if that is something that you are interested in, just reach out. You don't know until you ask. And it's something that no other audio company is going to be able to provide you with. Typically, if you buy something, it's going to be just a specific model, and, well, you may have a couple options. You don't have this amount of availability of what is possible. Whether it be as simple as something aesthetic that you are looking for, or if it's something that maybe you want something a little bit extra out of your stereo, or you're looking for something specific in how to actually contour, adapt, or customize that sound. That's something that can be done, because, well, I don't think that I have personally stumped Angela-Gilbert Yeung yet, and I'm not sure of anyone who has yet, if there has been a custom request. So if you have something like that, just go ahead and reach out to me through my social media, or just leave me a comment down below. But until then, as I said, we've got to go ahead and get the lids back on this, get this in the system, start it up on some burn-in time. It is Monday, so I'm looking to have this done within the next week or two and get this delivered to the customer. So thank you for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next video. So, as you can see, the integrated amplifier, the i807, has currently taken the place of the C312 here in the rack for burn-in. And the power supply has taken the spot of the cap pack, the SP36, though it is still sitting down here. Awfully tempting to hook it up to this integrated amplifier. But we're just going ahead and playing some music through it. It's been about 24 hours more so far worth of burn-in. I currently have it set up so that it is playing the top end of the QLS1s, and I'm using the subwoofer preamp output directly to my NAD 218 for the high current requirements of the Watkins woofers. I did have to tamp it down a little bit with the damping factor 1 controllers from Angela-Gilbert, because the bass was very overpowering for this particular amplifier pairing. So this is the current setup and how I actually have it burning in over the next couple of days. Now, I know I've already said my goodbyes and everything else and should have wrapped up this video, but I did want to say a couple things before I ended the video, because, well, one, it took me a little bit longer than I anticipated to record this video and edit the video. And in editing the video, I noted that my audio quality was kind of fluctuating, so I'm sorry about that. I learned in this video that my microphone is very directional, and any deviation out of that directionality is it takes quite a drastic jump in volume. So now I know that, and in future videos I will have better placement of the microphone, so I apologize for that. But I also wanted to just make a quick statement on the i807, because as I noted, I have probably about another 24 hours of burn-in and listening time on this integrated amplifier. And that puts it around, well, just under 200 hours of burn-in, so it's not even completely broken in yet. Typically, they start to settle down around 500 hours, and you start to see, the real benefits around 700 to 1,000 hours of burn-in. So this isn't even completely set yet. But that being said, excuse my French, but it's amazing. It just quite simply, and that's why I'm I feel comfortable making the statement now because as it burns in and breaks in, it's only going to get better. It's only going to get smoother and have more depth. But as is, it's absolutely incredible. And I may look at getting an i807 myself in the future because it's just, I feel like it is a absolute great representation of Angela-Gilbert's work for a couple of reasons. Because one, it has some of the same input stage as her preamplifiers, so you have that just absolute great detail retrieval. The high capacitance design really lends to the sound stage and just the depth of everything, and the output stage leaves nothing to be desired at all. And the fact that they are integrated together just makes it absolutely flawless in its presentation. I have a little bit more better control over the volume knob, knowing that, you know, it's actually built together, the input stage and the output stage together. So I have a little bit more better gain control in comparison to what I did with the C312 and the NAD. The output stage in this is actually very similar to the A205 power amplifier, so it's very representative of that. And it's also a great representation of the power supply and what's capable of Angela-Gilbert Yeung designs and power supplies, because we have our separate power supply, the same thing that you would have for, you know, the preamplifiers, things of that nature. And you also have that high capacitance design. It's like I said earlier in the video, it's very similar to the i802 and the i806, but this is very similar to having a capacitor pack or two already built into it. So it's just a very well-rounded representation of everything that Angela-Gilbert does. And as much as I'm having fun listening to this, I am really looking forward to delivering this just to see the look on his face, because I knew what I was getting into and getting him into when he ordered this. I knew I was pointing him in a good direction, but even I am absolutely surprised at the quality and the experience that I've had, even on just the second day of burn-in. And like I said, it's not even close to being burnt in yet. And for that, I am envious, because I won't be able to listen to this one once it's fully there. And I don't know. It's just, I don't know, it's a very firm statement to say something like that. And of course, as someone who sells her equipment, take it with a grain of salt. But if you're someone who actually cares about your budget and about your hi-fi, honestly, you would save yourself some money by listening to Angela-Gilbert Yeung's components. If you're close to a dealer in Canada, go listen. If you're anywhere near me, please come set up something to come listen. Because I could say words, you know, I could sit down and actually write out something and come up with some great marketing. There's too much marketing already in the audio world. Sit down with Angela-Gilbert Yeung's components and listen. And I promise you are going to hear something that you haven't before. Something that other brands can't compete with and don't come close to touching. And that's coming from someone who's worked on a lot of equipment, heard a lot of equipment, seen a lot of different designs, seen a lot of new designs and new ideas, and a lot of old ideas and BS as well. I'm not saying I've seen and done everything, but Angela just about has. And at this point, I absolutely have 100% trust in anything that she builds, because it's anything that I've heard still has that Angela-Gilbert Yeung factor of you're just absolutely pulled into the music. And that's one of the reasons why it's taken me so long. This was supposed to be a one-day thing, and I am sitting on day 2, and I am still trying to finish this video. One, because, well, it took, like I said, a little bit longer than expected to film it. And, well, one of the reasons why is because I end up listening to this thing, and I need to get some work done. So that's what I'm going to do. But I felt like I needed to make this statement. Like I said, I work for her, I sell her components. So take my opinion with a grain of salt. It is what it is. But you'll save yourself some money and a lot of searching just by listening to her components. You want to find a true end game component? This is it. Or the other components can be. So reach out to me or reach out to one of her other great dealers and start the process. I promise you won't regret it. So until then, this has been Quark Audio. Catch you in the next video.